Hi everyone, good Thursday afternoon and happy Halloween. Welcome to GoLocal Live. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for joining us on this rainy afternoon before the trick-or-treating gets started in earnest. I would like to welcome my first guest in, Ed Gilbert with IGT. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Kate. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. You've been doing a lot of press lately with IGT's proposed 20-year contract extension. Testifying up before the Statehouse. You can see Ed on social media as well. But I really want to introduce Ed. Tell folks a little bit about you, Providence native. Introduce yourself if you will.
Sure, Kate, thanks. So Ed Gilbert, as she said, I'm from Washington Park, born and raised in Providence. I'm actually the youngest of 8, so I come from a pretty big family. I've been involved with GTech for 32 years. I started at Broad Street Elementary School to Bishop McVinney Middle School to Our Lady of Providence High School. We graduated in June of '87, right to IGT, literally like the next week. And I've been at IGT ever since. So GTech then, and we'll share the story as we go along.
So that's my first question, as you said, right out of school, right to GTech, obviously. That's what it was back then. What brought you to the company?
Right. So when I first got out of school, I was like everyone else. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no idea. My family wanted me to go to school. I'm from a military family. I didn't want to go in the military. I know they all did, but I didn't want to go in the military. So I was going to go to CCRI, and then I ended up with the job at IGT, GTech at the time, in manufacturing, just as a way to start going through the summer, really. It's supposed to be just for the summer. And 32 years later, we're still going through the summer. But it's been a great ride.
So tell us, what was that first job doing?
The first job was actually in manufacturing. It was 7 o'clock in the morning to 3:30 in the afternoon. Worked with a bunch of great people. Had a great time. Learned a lot, and actually was identified there. That's where I actually was suggested to apply for a job that I didn't even know if I was qualified for. I remember calling up my high school teacher and saying, hey, can I do this job in operations? It's computer operations, it makes me nervous, but he said, you know what, you can do it. I went and did it, and the rest is kind of history.
So we've talked about that before on the show. Again, the what IGT says is the growth potential and the growth opportunities for employees at the company. When you made that switch, when you first started in manufacturing, as you said, you thought it was just going to be the summer. So when you went to operations, did that open your eyes and say, wow, I could potentially make a career of this?
It really did. When I started in operations, you find out, the lottery terminals, the lottery industry, and then you start realizing there are actually people behind those lottery terminals. There's a system that's processing those transactions. There's interactions with state agencies, and it just opens your eyes to networking, communications, technology, training, learning, and it really did just, make me go, I want to do more.
And so the number of promotions you've had over your tenure at IGT is how many?
9 or 10, and I've never left the data center once I was there. I've been around the world. I've gone to Singapore, done a number of startups for the company from New York to Texas, Georgia, worked on some stuff down there. So they allow people who really don't get out of Rhode Island. People in Rhode Island tend to stay in Rhode Island. So they allow you to see the world. And as a young company, we was young, everybody was young at the time, and we really had a great time doing these startups. A lot of pressure, but we got it done.
Okay, so you said those nearly 10 promotions throughout the course of your career. Tell us a little bit about your position today.
Sure. Today I'm the Senior Site Operations Manager at Cranston, working on the Rhode Island contract. I have 14 direct reports working for me. There's 24 of us in the office. Okay. And this is one of the concerns with what's going on now, that really it only takes 60 people, 60 to 65, to run this state. And that's what most states have. The difference here is there's 940 people behind us. And they're involved in what we do. They're here if we need anything. We get to get used as a benchmark site. All of that stuff goes away, and that's kind of scary.
And so what has it meant to be up at the State House, you and your colleagues up there sort of telling your story? Because, before this big debate kind of came about, you were kind of focused on the job, and then we're going to go. But the job work-life balance, we'll get to the life after that, because there's a lot of life outside the company. But what has it meant to the employees to have been able to tell their personal stories?
I think a lot of people don't realize what goes on. They don't realize that, like I said earlier, that there is a lot of stuff behind a transaction. They see Powerball and Mega and a big jackpot and they get excited, but they don't realize what it takes to make that happen.
Yes.
So by us being up there now, and what you're hearing is there's a lot of people involved to get this done, and there's a lot of people to make sure that other states get it done. It's not just one person; it's a team. It really is a team.
And speaking of teams, as you were telling us earlier, that's one of the things you really like about being at IGT, that work-life balance, because teams are important to you, coaching is important to you, and having that flexibility to have that time to be able to coach the teams. So tell us a little bit about the coaching world.
Sure. So I'm also involved in a girls' youth basketball program, and I help run that. I also referee high school basketball. So there's a lot of times when I get to go out and do these things in the community, and IGT's been really flexible with that, allowing that to happen. It's not easy to juggle the time. I'm on call 24/7, so there's always, something happens, I'm gonna get a phone call and get woken up, and it's okay, it's part of the job. But the other side is I get to go do things that I enjoy. It can't be all work. You have to have a life outside.
That is true. And so tell us, as we have you here today, again, you mentioned, again, the team that you work with, the additional employees here in Rhode Island, beyond, as you said, the 60 it takes to run the operations here. Anything else you want to share, Ed, with viewers while we have you here in studio today?
Sure. The concept of team, family, like I said earlier, I come from a large family, so that's really important. Even coming up in like the 90s, early 90s, I had some health scares, and IGT/GTech at that time was really supportive for me. It's not a unique story, and if you listen to the testimonies of Statehouse, you hear that over and over. They do it for everybody. They'll give you the tools and the vehicles to advance your career. They make sure that you have what you need, and that's really important.
Well, as we've done, we've had a lot of folks from IGT come through here, tell their stories here in GoLocal Live. So Ed Gilbert, I appreciate your taking the time to come on over, tell folks a little bit more about your position, your growth from GTech to IGT, and then coming in to talk with us today.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching. When you see us pop up again, we're going to have Dr. Salloway with the Warren Alpert Medical School, the latest developments in Alzheimer's research and the potential for a drug. So tune back in when you see us in a little bit. But thank you for watching this segment of GoLocal Live. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel.